Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello. Hi, friends. Hi, just checking that you can hear me okay. I'm Caitlin V. Welcome to this live stream on BDSM and Conscious Kink. I am so glad. I'm so excited to be sharing some things with you today that I think are going to be really joyful additions to your October. The reason that we're talking about this subject is because, as many of you know, I have a membership for men. It's called High Performance Male, The Advantage. And it's every single month we cover a different theme. So we've done like the masculine advantage and polarity, masculine and feminine. We did the seduction advantage. We've done the erection advantage. And then this month, October, we did the BDSM and kink advantage. And that's because partially October is a great month leading up to Halloween. It's a perfect time to experiment, to try new things, to get like a little bit of dark and sexy. And, you know, you can, it's Halloween, right? So like who here loves, write in the chat if Halloween is your favorite holiday. It's certainly mine. It gives us an opportunity to try out different personas, different ways of being, different personalities, different characteristics. So thank you. I love seeing you all writing in the chat. So phenomenal. I haven't done a live in so long. Hi, Wayne. Hi, Brandon. Hi, Charlie. Hi, Kent. Hi, Blair. Hi, Zach. Hi, Kim. So good to see you. So one of the reasons that I wanted to come on live today is because I did this phenomenal interview with a friend of mine. Her name's Casey Neal. She's a former pro dominatrix. And she and her business partner, Kimmy Inch, run a brand that's called And More. And it used to be called Eros and Kink. But it's And More. And I did an interview with her live last night for the guys inside of HPM. So if you're in High Performance Male, if you're in my membership, you already have access to that. It's up in the membership site, members.caitlinvneal.com. Go check it out. It's phenomenal. My mind was blown. Like I walked away. I'm a freaking sex coach and professional, and I've been knowing about BDSM and kink for, over a decade now. And she blew my mind. I learned so much that I was such a wealth of knowledge and joy and thoughts, and I just decided like I had to come on and do this live to share some of what I learned from her yesterday. So if you're in HPM, you can see her whole interview, but you're live with me on YouTube today, Friday, at the end of October 22, and I'm going to share with you some of these high quality downloads that I got from her. And then just imagine if this is just like the tippity tip of the iceberg, what all is possible if you sign up for HPM, watch the thing, or work with Casey directly. Go to search for Eros and Kink. Hi squad. So good to be live with you, recognizing so many names. If this is your first time live, let me know. My first in the chat. If you've been live with me before, let me know. I haven't done a live in a hot minute, and I love doing lives with you all. So if you like this and you want to see more, please, by all means, let me know. Who here knows me now from my TV show? Who here knows me now from Good Sex on Discovery Plus? A lot of you found me on YouTube because guess what? We're about to cross 500,000 YouTube subscribers. Isn't that wild? This channel that you're on right now, that you are a part of right now, is about to cross 500,000 subscribers. Amazing, like within days. I also want to let you know that this is my birthday is coming up in like 2 weeks. And I am really positive that my birthday gift this year is going to be 500,000 subscribers, which is really good news. Also, thank you so many. I have so many first-time folks here. Thank you. I'm so glad that you're here. Just so you all know, I promised I'd touch on this in the email I sent out earlier. My Instagram account that had 30,000 subscribers just got shut down. I have a new Instagram account. It's at Caitlin V. Neal. So at Caitlin V. Neal, which is also my website, Caitlin V. Neal. I'll put it in the chat for y'all so you can easily copy and paste it. Instagram.com/Caitlin V. Neal. That's my new Instagram account. It has like 600 followers now, which is just a teeny tiny little portion of where we're still crossing our fingers and hoping that the censorship gods will release my educational, sex positive educational content back into the world, and then I won't continue to be punished. But in the meantime, it would mean so much to me if you follow me, if you want more of this content. I go live on Instagram. I share a lot of stories, a lot of behind the scenes. So if you like what I'm putting out on YouTube, I think you'll enjoy the little microdose size stuff that I put out on Instagram. So that's really exciting. Again, 500,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for being a part of that. I love all of you writing in the chat that your birthdays are coming up. My Scorpio Kings, And we're at the end of our Libra season. So my Libra kings and my Scorpio kings and queens and non-binary royalty, thank you for coming through. Okay, let's talk a little bit about what BDSM is and kink. So this will be, I'm going to start with like a little bit of primer just to give us some context of what we're talking about. And then I will share with you some of the wisdom that Casey shared with us yesterday inside of HPM. Oh, there's one other important thing I got to say before that, which is I'm in Texas right now, friends. I don't live in Texas. I did live in Texas before, but I'm in Dallas, Texas right now. Anybody here in Dallas? I'm petting this bed because this whole bedroom is made out of like really nice velvet. I'm in Dallas, Texas right now. And I am in Dallas, Texas because we are having an HPM High Performance Male get together. So the members in all the men from High Performance Male are invited to come to Dallas and hang out. So we have a cool Airbnb and we're hanging out together this weekend. So if you're not in Hyper, it's too late to come now. It's too late to join. We're closed in our container. We've got, I think, a really great group of men that we're going to be hanging out this weekend. And I have never had the pleasure of meeting so many of my followers and fans and folks in person. So if you would love to be a part of a future meetup and get to hang out with me for a weekend, I think this is going to go great. So we'll see how it goes. And if it's awesome, if it's as awesome as it seems, we'll do it again. Okay. So that's that. If you want to be part of High Performance Male, it's in the description. All right. So that's why I'm petting the fuzzy Dallas headboard. All right. Kink and BDSM. First of all, let's talk about BDSM. That's an acronym. What does it stand for? It stands for bondage and discipline, domination and submission, and sadomasochism. So it's BDDS and DM. It's a very clever acronym. Bondage is the art of binding someone. You can bind someone traditionally with like ropes, but you could also bind them with like a spreader bar that prevents them from closing their legs. You can bind someone by telling them, balance this on your forehead and don't move. You can bind someone by telling them that they can't take their hand off the headboard, right? So there's lots of really clever ways to bind someone. Discipline is all about training someone, so giving them rewards, punishments, for in exchange for what they're doing or doing it right. So often if you have like a dom-sub relationship, it's about training the sub to please the dom, and they get disciplined along the way. And then sadomasochism. Sadism comes from Marquis de Sade, is the joy of putting someone else through pain. And masochism is experiencing pain ourselves and for pleasure. And what I'm going to bring into this conversation today is how do we do all of that in a way that that's different than how we've been doing it. So we're evolving the conversation around BDSM. And that's what Casey talked about last night. And that's what I want to share with you all today, because, you know, who here and type in the chat. By the way, I love when you all type in the chat. And I also love to see you giving thumbs ups to this video. Like there's over 200 people in the chat right now, and the video has 73 thumbs ups at this moment. So if you don't want to type in the chat, but you do want to give me a thumb up, that lets me know that this is useful and you're enjoying what I have to say, and lets me know to keep going. So type in the chat if you have any experience with BDSM and kink, just like a yes experience or no experience. And also consider like what comes up for a lot of men in my experience is that they would like to do more BDSM and kink, but they feel like they don't know how, or they feel like maybe it's too big of a subject. It's too much to figure out. Like I get asked all the time, like, how do I be more dominant? And like, yeah, that's a great question. It's a really big question, right? Great. So I'm seeing that a lot of you do have some experience, some people who don't have any experience yet. Some people who are curious, some people who already, you know, as a dom and a switch and an educator. Thanks, friends. Welcome to your first YouTube Live with me. I love doing YouTube Live. It's my favorite format. I love doing this way more than I like doing like those the videos that you see on YouTube. They require a lot of production, but what I love best about this is that you're like literally here. Like we can talk to each other. I can respond to what you said in the chat, Whereas when I'm making YouTube videos, I'm just like staring into the camera, and my fantastic assistant Liz is there, but she's, there's 200 plus guys and women and again, non-binary royalty that I'm getting to talk to right now. Like, that's so freaking cool to me. All right. So here's what I want to say about, and if you identify as a dominant, a submissive, or a switch, please type that in the chat. And let's go back and we'll do some definitions again. Dominant, often seen as the person who's like in charge, who's creating the scene, who is exerting power over the submissive. Submissive is the person who's in the surrender mode. They're allowing, they're receiving, they're trusting. Someone said in the chat earlier that in order to be a submissive, you have to be able to really trust the dominant and let go. Another way of looking at that, Kasha Urbaniak says the dominant is putting their attention out and the submissive is putting their attention in on their own body, their own experience. And what Casey said to me yesterday that is so important, if you take nothing else from this live or this replay, if you're watching this in the future, what I want you to get is that the dom-sub dynamic of I'm in charge and you're following, or I'm in charge and you're submitting, rather is a better way of saying it. I'm deciding and you're surrendering. That dynamic is legitimate, but old. Let me put it that way. That's been around. That's existed for a long time. And we've gotten so stuck up in these terms, identify as a dom, I identify as a sub, I need to be more dominant, I try to be more submissive. Like, we end up getting so caught up in the language that I think we're really missing the spirit that the words are meant to describe, right? And it's so polarizing. You can only be one or the other. Maybe you can switch, but it's like, even if you switch, you're only either one or the other. You never really get to be both. And so I want to invite new language, and this comes from Casey from Andamore. And I just want you to consider it, chew on it, let me know what you think. Does it work for you? And the language that I want to bring in is follower and leader, or leader and follower, instead of dominant and submissive. Leader and follower. Because who here knows how to lead, even if you don't know or feel confident being dominant, right? And who here feels comfortable following, even if you don't know or feel comfortable being submissive? Right? So instead of dom and sub, what do we think about this as leader and follower? And the leader is creating the scene. They're creating the environment. They're literally leading the submissive, leading the follower through the experience. And they're the top. They're the one who is actually acting upon the other person. And the other person is following. They're trusting, yes. They're surrendering, yes. But more importantly, they're following the leadership, and they're following the plan, the course of action, and the scene of the leader. And then what this is really interesting, what this allows for is that, and anyone who's been a dom or sub or in that kind of play knows that you'll switch back and forth, right? Sometimes you're the dominant, but you're putting your attention out onto the sub, and suddenly the sub is actually leading, right? Because you're following what the sub is doing and you're adjusting accordingly. And in the other way, the sub, or the follower in this case, if you've ever had that experience, you know that sometimes you're actually, it's you that is, and I'm not talking about topping from the bottom, but it's you that is directing the action just in the way that you're receiving. I hope this is making sense. It's complicated, but I think we can get that this is it's a co-creation. But when we think about domination and submission, oftentimes we think about the dominant just has to create the entire thing and the sub has to receive the entire thing, right? But it's actually, in real life, it's actually a dynamic that moves back and forth between people. And some of you are even typing in the chat, like, it's a give and take. It's complex. Core trust as connection. The core is made up of trust and connection. It's a co-creation. It's always a co-creation. There's a famous kink educator and famous dominant. His name is Orpheus Black. I also have an interview with him inside of the HPM membership, the High Performance Male membership. And he talks about how the dominant is actually submitting to the needs of the sub. And what I want to create here, what we learned from Casey last night, is that the leader and the follower are in a co-creation together. Another piece of language that her and Kimmy use is create artist and muse. So in that instance, the person who's leading the experience is the artist, and the person who's receiving the experience is the muse. And the muse is just inspiring the artist to act, right? And we can get together and say like, hey, you inspire me to want to do these things with you. I feel inspired to cover your whole body with fruits and berries and let you become, I don't know, that's, I'm going down a weird angle with that one. Maybe I desire to give you a flogging. I desire to give you a spanking. I desire to give a rhythmic spanking until you enter into a ecstatic space. You like literally get high on your own body and your own sensation without any drugs, alcohol, or any intoxicants. I desire to, or I'm inspired to do A, B, or C with you. That is very different than the requirement that we typically put on the dominant, which is that they have to be able to read the mind of the sub. Does this make sense? Type in the chat if this is making sense. Because it, and type in the chat also, does it feel easier for you to identify as leader or follower than it does for you to identify as dominant and sub? Now, I know there's people on here that already identify as doms. I'm not asking you to, and in no way do I want you to interpret me. I'm telling you that you shouldn't identify as a dom or be a dom. Be a dom, you know? What I'm interested in is giving people who maybe are new into this experience an entry point that feels easy and accessible. And for my doms out there, I'm about to give you something that you're going to be able to utilize in your future scenes. Right. For me, yeah, I'm 100% leader and follower is so much easier for me. It's like, oh God, I have like so much freedom with that language. I don't have to like perform dominant or perform submissive. All I get to do is be to follow or to be the muse. How fun is that? Great. Okay, so this is making sense. Cool. So the other thing that that I really want to share with you that Casey really gave to me last night when I was interviewing her is thinking about the ritual and the ceremony inside of a kink scene. So type in the chat, type yes if you have ever created a kink scene or been part of a scene and that like it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Maybe we talk about the things that happen, and just type no if you've never set up a kink scene before, because I'm going to tell you a little bit about how to do it in a way that you've probably never considered. So yes, I have set up a kink scene or been part of a kink scene. No, I haven't been. This is just going to help me to know who's live with us so that I can be sure to meet your needs and to share with you what is going to be the biggest difference. I'm going to drink my sparkling beverage off screen. Ding. Okay. We've got, I would say we have a little bit more no's than we do yeses. Great. Perfect. So core of how to set up a kink scene. Number one, it always starts with communicating with your partner, talking about what you're into, what you're not into, the kink checklist. And you can go to kimmyinch.com and download her kink checklist and get on her newsletter. She's a great kink educator. But at its core, it's like if you may be similar to a yes, no, maybe list. Maybe you've seen my yes, no, maybe list, depending on how long you've been following me on YouTube. It's essentially like, here are the things that I'm a yes to, here are the things that I'm a no to, and here are the things that I am a maybe to. And then you look at this list, you go through it together, and you say, okay, it seems like spanking is on this list. We're both a yes to spanking. And remember, whether you're leader or follower, you get to say yes and no. Just because the follower wants to be spanked doesn't mean that the leader has to give a spanking, and the other way around. We're going to look only for areas where we're both a yes, and then we're going to play just in those, especially early on. So you have this list, checklist, or yes, no, maybe list. You go through it together, and then you say in a well-lit room, in a sober space, like in a neutral environment, you go through it and say, okay. And then you pick just a couple things. You may just pick one thing. And you may just start with a scene that lasts 20 or 30 minutes, maybe even lasts 6 minutes. You know, it does not have to be a whole big to-do. We do not need to make it more complicated than it needs to be. The goal is just to have pleasure, right? Pleasure is the goal. Fun is the goal. Maybe even healing is the goal. So you decide what you're going to do, and then you separate. And the leader goes and sets up the space, and the follower goes to a private space, maybe a bathroom, maybe just a different room away. And you take a second and you each individually get into your persona, your character, the leader, the follower. Because, it's worth saying that me, Caitlin, has a whole bunch of identities. I'm a YouTuber, I'm a coach, I'm a wife, I'm a cat mom, I'm a boss, I'm a CEO, I've got all these identities. But if I'm going into a space, whether that's as a leader or as a follower, I want to shed some of those identities and welcome in the leader or the follower identity, right? Who understands what I'm saying? Just by show of hands, or give me a thumbs up if you understand what I'm saying here. That you get to like shed and take off who you are. Like, I'm James, I'm Richard, I'm Chad, I'm Tim, I'm Sarah, I'm Kyle. We get to drop that for a second and get to say, okay, what am I calling in? Who am I becoming as this leader? It's almost like putting on a Halloween costume, putting on a mask. And the same is true for the follower. We're dropping in, right? We're beginning to get more focused on our body. We're beginning to get more focused on our felt experience. Then you come back together. You do whatever you previously agreed upon, maybe in an order that's surprising. You always want to leave a little bit of room for spontaneity. As part of your kink communication checklist, you've already discovered your safe words. And if you don't have safe words, you don't do anything at all. Rule number 1. I like to use the stoplight system, which is red for stop, yellow for slow down, and green for go. Very easy. You can check in with people. Is this a yellow? Is this a green? Oh, that's a green. Oh, that's a yellow. And then red just means stop. The red means stop. And then Casey introduced to me last night, and I thought this was really brilliant. The idea of just time out, because red means stop. Red means like, this has gone over my edge. Red means I do not want to do this anymore. Red means halt the whole scene. But time out might mean I have to go to the bathroom. Time out might mean, hey, like, I don't, just so you know, like, when you hit me with that flogger, you actually like caught a little bit of skin and that hurt. And I like, please just be more cautious about where you're hitting me with the flogger. Timeout could mean a lot of things. It just means I gotta connect for a second here. Timeout might mean like, I need to go take a breather. This is a lot. It doesn't mean that I want to be done with the entire scene. It means that I need a little bit of a break. So anyways, that's part of your checklist beforehand. You don't play with anyone who doesn't already understand how to use safe words. You come up with safe words and talk about that. That has to be a part of every scene. Separate, go come back together in your roles. And then I'm not going to share exactly how Casey sets up her scenes, but what I'm going to share is a little bit about how you can think of this. Because one of the things that they do, Casey and Kimmy and the And More, is they really think about how to introduce ritual into the environment, ritual and ceremony. So if you've ever, maybe you've gotten married, you remember that there was a ceremony. It had a start, a middle, and an end. It had specific things that let us know that we were in ceremony, things that we wouldn't do when we were in ceremony. Like, maybe we're not going to check our cell phones while we're in ceremony. There's kind of specific rules and boundaries for it. And if you think about setting up your BDSM or your kink scene from a space of like, what is it that I really want to, what is my goal here for this environment? That's not just pleasure, not just pain, not just orgasm, right? Not just ejaculation, but like, what if our goal was that at the end of this scene, we would feel more connected to ourselves, to each other, even to a higher power? What if our goal was at the end of this scene, we got to let down and set down being so hard on ourselves? What if at the end of this scene, we felt inspired and invigorated around something that seems unrelated, like a work project or exercise or something like that, right? Like, what if at the end of this experience, we had a powerful experience of like calling in something that we want to create together. So like, maybe that's like a baby or a new house, or we want to move across the country or whatever. Like, what if the purpose of this scene was in dedication, in ritual, in ceremony to something that we want in our life, something that's bigger than just this moment? Is this making sense? Again, I'm introducing a ton of really big, some esoteric, some kind of woo-woo concepts here. So if it's not tracking, that's okay. Just let me know. We can shift a little bit. But I'm so glad so many new folks here. It's so delightful to see you all. It's getting ready to host a YouTube live. Great. Let me know you're quiet in the chat. Things are working. We're with me. So what I want you to do is think that like a BDSM scene doesn't just have to be which toys I'm going to use. Think about the toys are just tools. When you think about building a house, you don't think, what kind of tools am I going to use to build this house? There's hammers and there's screwdrivers and there's power tools and there's sanders and there's saw, like all, yeah, duh, there's all of that. But that's not what we think about. We think about the shape of the house. We think about the people that are going to be in the house. We think about how they're going to move through the house. We think about how the guests are going to flow through the house, the rooms, and how each of them is going to be used. And then we select the tools for that job. You don't need any tools. I'm here to tell you, you don't. There's so many amazing toys out there and toy shops. And, I encourage you to shop small businesses and look for sex toy shops that, like Shop Spectrum. A woman I know in Detroit, Zoe, runs Shop Spectrum Boutique, small business sex toy shop. They do a lot of education. Sarah Dysick in Chicago, I can't think of the name. Early to Bed, I think it's her sex toy shop. You can check out both of those. They're great resources. But you actually do not need any tools. You don't need fancy floggers. You do not need rabbit fur, cat of nine tail floggers in order to have an amazing, transformative, sexy, kinky experience. And this brings me to another thing I want to share. As you may know, both Casey and I I'm in a certified erotic blueprint. Who knows? Say in the chat, type in the chat, me. So type me in the chat if you know about the erotic blueprints and if you know my mentor, Jaiya. Both Casey and I are certified erotic blueprint coaches, and we talk about the erotic blueprints. I talk about the erotic blueprints a lot inside of HPM. I have a whole video series on the erotic blueprints here on YouTube. So if you have any questions on that, please do check them out. In short, they're energetic, turned on by tease and anticipation; sensual, turned on by the five senses: smell, sight, taste, touch, and sound; kinky, which is kind of what we're talking about here, but kinky is aroused by the taboo; sexual, which is straight on, genitals, penetration, orgasms; and then the shapeshifter, which is a combination of all of them. Today is also a really special day coming to you live because today is the 1-year anniversary of my mentor, Jaiya, who created the erotic blueprints, was starred in a show that came out on Netflix 1 year ago today that's called Sex, Love, and Goop. And if you have Netflix and you haven't watched Sex, Love, and Goop, I have 11 out of 10 recommend that you watch it this weekend, especially since you're not here with me and Dallas and the other HPM guys, the guys from my membership, High Performance Male. I wish you could be here with us. Maybe you'll be at the next one. But since you're not with me here in Dallas, go to Netflix, get your wife or your partner and watch at least the first 2 episodes of Sex, Love, and Goop. Have a lot of Jaiya, have a lot of the erotic blueprints. It's really good stuff. It will definitely introduce you to, it's not explicit. It's definitely like, I wouldn't watch it with kids. I would not watch it with anyone under the age of 18 present. There's some nudity, but it is not like explicit. And there's no like sex. It's just hard to describe. But you see, I think 5 or 6 sex coach and tantra practitioners, and they're really in the energetic and sensual blueprint. So if who here has a partner, it's often, I'm sure about 80% of the viewers with me live right now are men, maybe 90% based on what I'm seeing in the names. Who here has a partner who has an energetic or a sensual blueprint? Just type my partner. She's energetic, she's sensual, she's very sensitive. She doesn't like to go straight for genitals. She's very sensual in the sense that maybe she loves, this is a very sensual room, maybe she loves velvet headboards. Very sensual. So something that often happens is that we'll have a male partner who is sexual, kinky, and wants to do kinky stuff, but then we have a female partner who is energetic, sensual, and she's like pretty much turned off by the idea of like getting, patted on her butt until she turns red. That's not what she's here for. It's not what she's into. I invite you to consider that the conversation that we're having, that I just had, the recording that I have with Casey in the High Performance Male membership, all of this is about introducing other elements into kink. So yes, we have the leader and the follower. Yes, we have the creation conversation. Yes, we have aftercare, which, by the way, my video that went live on yesterday on YouTube is all about aftercare, and it's bomb. I highly recommend that you watch that. It's good. Aftercare is what sets you apart from every other lover she's ever had. You want to be a bomb lover. It's not just about the pipe that you lay in the experience itself. It's how you land the plane. Some of y'all are really good at taking off with foreplay, and you're really good with flying the plane with intercourse, but then you actually just crash and burn at the end. And then you wonder what you're like, what? Oh, I gave her all these orgasms. I was so good. I don't understand. I made her squirt. Why didn't she call me back? And it's because you didn't land the plane. You fucking, pardon my French, like crashed it right into the runway. And she's like, that's the experience that she's left with. She's like, yeah, he made me squirt, but like he didn't know how to talk to me afterward. Then he didn't know what I actually needed afterward. So, anyways, please check that out. So, whether it's you or your partner who's energetic and sensual, there is a lot of overlap. You can use this framework that we just set up with leader and follower to have a sensual experience. It doesn't have to include leather, it doesn't have to include bondage, it doesn't have to include, it can be a sensual experience with a leader and a follower. So, we're taking these blueprints and we're remixing them in ways that are giving you access to higher and higher experiences of pleasure. And guess what? Even if you don't think you're kinky, I guarantee you are kinky, because in the blueprint world, and the definition that I use and Casey uses and Jaiya uses, and you'll see it in Sex, Love, and Goop if you watch it. But the definition of kinky is getting off and getting aroused by and getting erotic satisfaction from the things that are taboo to you. So what's taboo to me? What's taboo to you? I've just recorded a video, won't be out for a while, on food play. I grew up with a Depression era grandmother. I was raised by a grandma who for whom we were not allowed to waste food. Did anyone else have this in their household? Talk to me in the chat. I was not allowed to waste food. We would eat food that was like just like a day after it should have been thrown out, because she grew up in the Great Depression and wasting food was a sin. Well, one of the kinkiest things that I've done with food is I took a milk bath. Well, I took like a regular hot water bath and then I poured like a half a gallon of cow's milk into it. I was in a real intense pleasure state for a long time with that one because I was so naughty using milk in the bath. And I had my husband get involved and he was like pouring the milk on my body. And like, again, this is not an explicit sexual thing that happened, but it was extremely arousing to feel like I was being a bad girl who was wasting food. Do you all get this? Are you with me? Do you hear this? Like, no wasting. Oh my God, that's taboo to me. But for some of you, maybe your mom and your grandma were taking milk baths when you were a kid. Maybe your mom is Cleopatra and she invented the milk bath. I don't know. It was kinky for me. And then after that, like covering a lover in food, I took a lover and I put some chocolate sauce right here and then lay down, put some chocolate sauce right here and then tell them, don't move, don't spill that chocolate sauce. Now they're in bondage. Okay. Because they're bound, right? Can't move. And I'm going to, it's not really wasting food, but it's like playing with your food. I'm going to come up there and I'm going to eat it later, but like you got to stay still. In the meantime, is this making sense? Does this sound hot? Would anyone be into that? Does anyone think like food play, that's kinky, but maybe it's not kinky to you. Maybe breath play is kinky to you. Maybe choking is kinky to you. Maybe role play is kinky to you. Maybe saying being called daddy is kinky to you. Maybe fantasizing about, having a verbal fantasy with your lover about the hot waitress that you saw earlier and like having a pretend threesome with her in your imagination. Maybe that's kinky with you because you're not supposed to have threesomes with the waitress. Like, yeah, I'd love it if you type in the chat what's kinky to you. Maybe something that's like less expected, like fantasizing about my college professor. That's kinky to me because it's taboo. Role play is taboo. Choking, breath play is taboo. Naughty to waste food or watch your stepsister changing. Yes, although only with consent, right? Or with porn. There's tons of stepsister porn out there. So that's a great taboo. Or fantasizing about doing it, right? Not actually doing it, right? Because our world, in our rich internal world, our internal world, any fantasy is fair game in here. I fully believe that you should be able to fantasize about anything inside of your mind is fair game. If you're going to make it a reality, it's only okay. It's only fair game with consenting adults. Right? Name calling, fantasizing about a threesome, sunning your genitals. Has anyone here sunned your genitals? It's a beautiful day in Dallas, Texas. I think I'm going to go up and sun my genitals for a few minutes, just get them some sunshine. Genitals get the least amount of sunshine of any part of our body. I highly recommend if you have a place where you can do this, it's private property that you own, no one can see you, that you go out and you let your genitals and your butthole get some sunshine. You trust me, they also make red lights. I wish I had an affiliate for this company. I haven't gotten in touch with them yet. But they make lights that I think it's infrared and red light therapy that you can shine directly at your testicles. increases testosterone production, supposedly. Do more research on that. But whatever I saw when I was looking into this last year, I was very pleased by the research that I was seeing. But do your own work on that. Sunning your genitals. That may be the key. Getting sunshine in your genitals, going outside. Like that may be the kinkiest thing that you do. And it may feel so good to you. So get out there and enjoy the things that are taboo to you. Allow them to feel good. Allow it to feel pleasurable. That is where it's at. That's where the juice is allowing it to feel good. So let's just go over a little bit of what we covered today. Number one, I'm in the very sensual master bedroom of the HPM meetup house. If you want to hang out in the future, there's a link in the description to join High Performance Male. That is where the interview that I did with Casey Neal from And More, her and her business partner, Kimmy Inch, are kink educators that are taking kink and changing the subject around it, changing the evolving. How about that? We'll call it that. They are evolving. And if you're more interested in the old school kink, domination and submission, I also have an interview with Orpheus Black inside of High Performance Male. And he's definitely more of the recognizable dominant. You'll see in him, and the interview I have is actually like very, very surprising, because I went in asking him, how do you be dominant? And just as he usually does, he totally blew my mind. And he answered that question in a way that I would never have otherwise suspected. So if you're interested in leaning into your kink, I have these two amazing educators, hour plus interviews with both of them. So please do check that out. If you're interested in, if you want something great to watch this weekend, the 1-year anniversary of Sex, Love, and Goop on Netflix with my mentor, Jaiya. She's badass. If you want to know more about the erotic blueprints, that's her creation. I do have YouTube videos on the erotic blueprints. I have YouTube videos on kink and dominance and aftercare. Please do check those out if you just want free resources. But if you're ready to take this stuff to a next level and you want to join me and the brothers of High Performance Male, we would love to have you. You have 30 days to decide if it's right for you. We do one call every single week. You get one master class from me. If you thought that I downloaded some education for you and shared some important stuff in this 37-minute YouTube live, you get a 90-minute to 2-hour class with me on each of the subjects at the beginning of the month. So I did like a 90-minute class on BDSM, 90-minute class on erections, 90-minute class on masculinity, on seduction, on you name it. Like next month is just is like actually sex itself. We're going to be doing a 90-minute class on those too. Okay, so I have a couple minutes to take some questions from you in the chat. If you already typed a question, you got to type it again, because I'm not going to go back and be able to read the chat and still maintain presence with you all. So please feel free to type in your questions on anything that we spoke about today, or on High Performance Male, or on Sex, Love, and Goop, or let me see, was there anything else I said that I was going to talk about today? Oh, or Instagram. Please follow me on my new Instagram account at Caitlin V. Neal, which is also my website, or I'm CaitlinVneal.com, membership.CaitlinVneal.com. Oh, maybe I should add that, or members.CaitlinVneal.com. I started a new site so if you own any of my products, if you have Come When You Want, if you have Legendary Lover, if you have any of those courses, we're moving them by the end of the year to this new website. So it's members.CaitlinVneal.com. Go, feel free to check it out. High Performance Male is there now. So please follow me on my new Instagram. That would help me so much, since I'm starting from scratch. Because the censorship folks out there, which is so funny, because you remember, if you've been following me for a long time, you know that when Nadia Bacote got her channel taken down, I was out here. When Charles Black got his taken down, I was out here like defending their right to continue their sex ed on these platforms. But I feel like it was just a matter of time until I got taken down, and now it's happened on Instagram. My original Instagram account got censored, got removed. It's gone. We were at 549 followers when I started this live stream. Let's see where we're at now. We're at 573. We could definitely do better than that, y'all. If you're on Instagram, please, please, please give me a follow. It's Caitlin V. Neal, CaitlinVneal. I'll put that. It's in the description too of this video, I believe. So please go follow me, and you give this video a thumbs up if you haven't yet. That would be extremely, extremely helpful. And it will help other people find it. If you found this useful, make sure that you're subscribed to my channel. Make sure that you follow me on Instagram. Make sure that you apply to, if you like hanging out with me like this is what we do every Tuesday night in High Performance Male. I teach a class, or we do live coaching where I just coach you. I just answer your questions, and we get to do it on video seeing your questions on chat is great. I really love this format, but it's even cooler when I can see you and you can see me and we can have a real conversation back and forth. So I'm just going to have a quick look. Can we see those YouTube stream vids? Yeah, all my lives are on my channel. So if you go to the youtube.com/CaitlinV, you'll be able to find all of my previous YouTube lives. They look just like regular videos, actually, most of them. But I think, anyways, so they all exist. I haven't done. Did you guys like this? Do you want me to do more YouTube lives? We still have over 200 folks on this call, so I think it did pretty good because we started at 250 and we're at 200, and we're 40 minutes in. I'm pretty proud of that. Yeah. I made Mother May. I'm sorry, John. I do not understand the question. Video on polarity and why it matters. Yeah, I have a whole month inside of High Performance Male. We did an entire month on polarity. So 1 2-hour-long class on polarity and then 3 coaching calls on polarity. You can catch all of those. All the recordings are there. How do you bring up a kink to a partner without being embarrassed? That's a great question. So number one, I would get to a place where you don't feel embarrassed with yourself, because sometimes that it's the internal work of like, why am I making myself wrong for what I'm into? Can I let that go? Can I be okay with what I'm into? Can I love me for what I'm into? That way, when you share that with your partner, they're not going to feel your embarrassment and stickiness around it. They're going to be like, oh, wow, that's what you're into. Also, don't make assumptions about what your partner would or would not be into, right? Unless you've spoken to them explicitly, you just don't know. And then I would, there's different ways to bring it up. Like maybe you watch a porn that has that kink, or maybe you look at a website or something. You go to the sex toy shop and you go, oh, hey, I would look at these cool cock cages. I'm kind of into being caged. That would be, what do you think about that? Right. And you make a space where you are able to answer their questions, because you need to actually be the compassionate person. And they might come back and be like, ew, I'm not into that or whatever. They might yuck your yum, is what we call it in the sex educator space. Your yum is cock cages, and they're like, yuck, I'm not into it. Be okay with their response. Stay in your body instead of getting triggered, and go, I hear that that's maybe not something that you're into. I request some open-mindedness. I request some gentleness, and I request some compassion. And so don't get rattled yourself and go, no, I have every right to be into this or whatever. Of course you do. You don't need to be defensive. Your partner's going to have her or his or their own process around your kink. So you introduce it at a time where they're maybe well fed and rested and not stressed out about work and not stressed out about the kids. You say it with a place of like groundedness and no shame inside of yourself, no embarrassment inside of yourself. You have all the information that you need. I really recommend that you are able to answer questions. It bothers me when someone says like, hey, I'm really interested in A, but they don't know anything about A. So then partners like, well, tell me about A, tell me about this, tell me about this, what about this, what about this? And they go, well, I don't know. I thought we'd do that research together. It's like, no, you're making this request. So come correct, come educated, come ready to talk. Does that make sense? You with me? Cool. We would enjoy more lives, more lives, more lives. Check, check, check. I'm wondering if there will be homework and thoughtful questions on the great sex community. Yes, there is. There's new stuff going up in the great sex community all the time on my website and my membership. So if you are interested, go to CaitlinVNL.com. The great sex community is for women and couples first, and then great high performance male on my YouTube channel is really for men first. Choking, really important. I don't know. I didn't see the question, but I'll just say that there's multiple different ways to choke someone. And it's really important that when you choke someone that you do not put pressure on the center of their neck. There's a floating bone here called the hyoid bone, and you can break it. So often in movies, we see, choking that happens like this, not safe. What you want to do is choke like this around the sides. It's a blood choke and not an air choke, but I don't have enough time to explain that in depth. So before, and this is a huge pet peeve of mine, because people don't know how to choke, and it's like one of the most common fantasies. There are plenty of educators out there who would be upset with me for even just telling you as much as I did. But I want you to know, at the very most basic rule is no pressure here. You're not actually trying to prevent them from breathing. The best choke takes, in my opinion, my preference, is a blood choke. What it does is it prevents oxygenated blood from getting to the brain, but it doesn't prevent the blood from being oxygenated, right? So when you prevent air from coming in, the heart can't get blood, can't get oxygen, it can't move oxygen around the body. With this, you just prevent quality oxygenated blood from being released into the brain. As soon as you let go, oxygen goes right up into the brain. Okay. If you air choke someone, now they have to take a breath. The lungs have to move that oxygen to the heart. The heart has to pump that back up to the brain. Way, way, way more dangerous. Keep the oxygen right there. Do not crush. Great. Y'all are asking really, really good questions. You said that you want more lives. There will be more lives. Would anyone here like to see me do an AMA? Do you know what that is? Ask me anything. Yes, partial blood choke. Thank you. I hate Google a lot. You're my dude in the comments today, or person. You're my human in the comments today. Thank you for coming through and answering questions in there. We'd like to do more lives. I think I'm going to do I'm a sex coach, ask me anything. By the way, I did do one of those on Reddit. So I think if you search for Caitlin V on Reddit, you can also find that. And I may have answered some of your questions on there. Some of you may even know me from there. So I'm a sex coach, ask me anything. I do that stuff all the time on Instagram, just so you know. So if you haven't followed me on Instagram, I'll often put a story up and I will say, I'm a sex coach, AMA, and I'll just answer, 30 or 40 questions back to back. Make sure that you are subscribed here. Join me in HPM. I would love to see you. I'd love to see your faces on Zoom every Tuesday, supporting you and getting the best sex of your life, creating the relationships that you want to create, and introducing you to a band of brothers who are all high performance men here on planet Earth to do amazing stuff. And I have the pleasure of hanging out with them in just a few hours. 45 minutes. They're going to be here. Okay. I better go get ready. Y'all rock. Thank you so much for signing in. Give this video a thumbs up on your way out. Thanks for joining me especially for those of you who is your first live. Thank you so much. Make sure you turn notifications on so that you get notified when I do another live, and make sure that you're on my email list, which you can at CaitlinVneal.com. That way you'll get notified when I'm going to do another live, and you can be sure. And thank you for those of you who wrote your comments, for those of you who gave thumbs up, for those of you who are part of the 500,000, 500,000 subscribers. Woo-hoo! Thank you. Maybe if you share with one other interested person, we could hit 500,000 well before my birthday, and then we'll do something exciting and different for my birthday. I love you. Huge. I really, really love and appreciate you. I acknowledge you for who you are, and that you're the kind of person who would show up to this live stream and learn and want to do better in bed and expand your pleasure and your horizons and your skills. Love you guys.